Assalamu alaikum, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Muslims in America, where we interview Muslim elected officials and influencers and speak to them about their community engagement. I'm your host, Mayor Mohamed Khairullah. My guest today was just elected as mayor of the 14th largest city in the state of California. She's a former council member, a business owner, a mother of two, and a community activist. If this is your first time, please make sure that you subscribe to my channel. Also, please don't forget to hit the like button on this show. Let's go. Welcome back, everyone. I am here with Mayor-elect Farah Khan from Irvine, California. Mayor, thank you very much. I am honored. It's a pleasure to talk to you. Very exciting news, your victory. Can you tell us, I introduced you with 3 quick bullet points. What else can you tell us about yourself? What's there behind the lines? How did you get to where you are?
I think it had a lot to do with just being involved in the community. You know, I come from a biotech background, served as regulatory affairs manager for a biotech company in Northern California. Moved down to Southern California, became a business owner, and from there kind of started working in the nonprofit sector, became the executive director of a local nonprofit, and then just really got involved in the community. And from there, just found myself showing up at city council meetings, kind of speaking up on the issues that a lot of us were facing and asking our elected leaders to do the right thing. And after a while was asked if I wouldn't run for one of those seats, which was actually quite an eye-opener. I ran for the first time in 2016 and lost my campaign, and ran again in 2018. And in 2016, I came in 4th out of 11 candidates, and 2018 came in 1st out of 12 candidates.
Wow, that is amazing. So you just won your first term as council member in 2018, is that correct?
That's right.
All right. And within the middle of your term, you ran against an incumbent, or did you run against a brand new person?
So just 2 years into my term, you know, we had a mayor that just did not connect with the community. I mean, she was an incumbent for about 28 years, switching seats from council to mayor. And, you know, recently with a lot of the social injustice issues that were coming up, a lot of issues with our Chinese and Asian American communities, with the coronavirus being called the Chinese virus, the BLM protests, students that were having a hard time, you know, paying their rents or getting out of their leases during the pandemic. She was just on the wrong side of everything, from telling students to get a job at Amazon to pay their rent, to telling, you know, protesters that if they didn't like her city, they could find another city to live in. These weren't the type of messages you want to hear from a leader of such a big city. You want leadership that is inclusive and responsive to the community's needs.
Right. Wow. So within 2 years, you're now the mayor of the 14th largest city in California. Bloomberg just mentioned you today, and I'm going to reference today is November 18 when we're doing this interview. We're going to broadcast next week. But can you tell us about your Bloomberg mention?
So this morning we woke up to having Bloomberg cities mention me as one of 8 mayors to look out for throughout the nation, which is really exciting because, you know, being a mayor of a major city like Irvine it just means that we're going to look at new technology. We're going to look at housing. We're looking at our environment. There's a lot to do here that hasn't been done in the past. We're no longer the city of, you know, 1990s or even the 2000s. We need leadership that is really going to take this city to where it needs to be. And that's what I'm looking forward to. So it was kind of an honor to be recognized as just one of the 8 people that they picked throughout the nation.
Right. So I know you mentioned it briefly, but tell us a little more in details. How did you get into politics? Were you a community activist? Can you, I wanted you to share the story in a way that people can relate to in their communities, so it gives them hope and inspire them in terms of getting involved in their local communities?
Absolutely. So for me, I was never thinking about going into politics. This kind of happened organically. Like I mentioned, I ended up showing up at council meetings and speaking up during public comments, getting really involved behind the scenes with issues that our community was facing. And so that kind of led that pathway. And then again, you know, it wasn't easy. In 2016, when I first ran, I got to hear things like, you know, maybe our city wasn't ready for so much diversity, or that someone with a name like mine was unelectable. And so you kind of have to jump over these hurdles and really get across to the community members, because once they get to know you, it really, that really matters is what you represent.
Awesome. So in terms of the challenges that you face, you mentioned your name. Let me ask you, were you born in the US? Were you naturalized?
I was naturalized. I actually came to the US when I was 3.
So what kind of specific challenges did you face and how did you overcome them?
You know, I think the first time I ran, it was quite an eye-opener and really challenging to hear those things, which I didn't feel were even necessary, but I was targeted not only by my name, but what I looked like, who I associated with, any Muslim name that came up on my you know, contribution reports were all linked to terrorists. And you know, that's really what it came down to. It came down to pinning me as an other, as someone that was not trustable and that had ties with terrorism. And you know, in 2016 it kind of got to me, but the same thing happened in 2018. But I think I was better equipped to fight it on because I already knew it was going to come, you know. And so it was much easier for me to stand up and speak out and really let people know who I was. And so, and it really transpired where, you know, the public ended up really understanding the negativity was unfounded.
So, Councilwoman, you're a mother of 2, a business owner. So, and now you're going to be running a large city. How do you balance everything, and how does your family feel about what you're doing?
I mean, my family has always been very supportive. You know, when the first time when I ran, my kids were a little younger. They're a bit older now. They're 16 and 19, and they get it. They understand why I do this. They understand the need for it. And again, it's a balancing act. It's, you know, making sure there's enough time for family, enough time for work, and enough time to serve the community. And that can get tricky sometimes. And it does take away a little bit from each pocket as well. But at the end of the day, you know, if you have those open communications and you know why you're doing this, it becomes easier.
So, Mayor, your town, and I did some research about it, and I apologize about mispronouncing the name. It's Irvine, not Irving.
Right.
Is one of the top 10 cities for people to live in the US. But what would Irvine look like under your administration? What kind of plans do you have for your beautiful city?
Absolutely. You know, we're not only one of the top 10 best cities to live in, we're one of the safest cities in the nation to live in. And of course, we're going to continue that. But at the same time, we're in the middle of a pandemic and an economic crisis. We really want to make sure we're focusing on our residents and our businesses to make sure they come out of this, not only the pandemic, but economic crisis in a way where there's stability and, you know, reaching out and looking at new options for our city, something that hasn't been done in a while. We're looking at expanding our business portfolio. We're looking at generating new technology. Right now, one of the things that I've been working on since 2015 was bringing community choice energy into our city. And right now it's expanding where other cities want to join us. So that's going to be really exciting. And at the same time, you know, reaching out to technology resources and making us the hub here in Southern California. So I'm really looking forward to expanding what we're capable of doing. We've got UCI, which is a university right here in our city that we need to tap into and make sure that we're taking advantage of and helping those students find those jobs right here. So there's a lot that's going to be going on, and I'm looking forward to it.
That is awesome, and it's an honor to be talking to such a visionary such as yourself. And I look forward to continuing to communicate with you and learn from you as well. So You're a Muslim elected official, and you acknowledge that. Any idea how many Muslim elected officials are in California? How active is the Muslim community politically in California?
I think by now there's probably 6 Muslims that are elected in California, maybe more. Those are the only ones I know of. But I'm sure there might be a couple more. You know, we meet during the League of California Cities meetings, so we get to know one another. But those are the ones that I know of. And I know recently we just had one more add-on. Alia Chisti, I think, is the San Francisco Community College Board. She just got elected this time around in 2020. So it's always exciting to see how many more people are coming on, because again, we need to make sure that our government looks like our communities. So we need more people to step up and run for office.
Absolutely. And hopefully you could connect me with them. I would love to interview them and meet them as well. That is awesome news. So any word of advice that you could give to anyone who wants to get involved on step 1 of community engagement, what should they do?
You know, get to know your community, work with local nonprofits, you know, find internships that you can get involved in. And at the end of the day, no matter what office you're running for, just have an understanding of who your constituents are. That is key to any election. Is you got to know your people. If you don't know your people, you're not going to do a good job. You need to know your people. You need to stay in touch with them, and you need to build that confidence and trust with them as well. For me, you know, coming in first out of 12 candidates wasn't an easy task. It meant that I was spending a lot of time in a lot of communities, talking to them, understanding their needs, and then responding to those needs as well. So it's so important, you know, if you want to do the right job and you want to do it well, that you understand exactly what you're being tasked with, and reach out to those communities and build those connections, because at the end of the day, you know, it's those votes that you need to have add up to win. And it's not a popularity contest. I mean, people really look at what you're able to accomplish. And so for me, like taking out a 28-year incumbent, we were thinking that we're going to be like neck to neck on election night. But basically, I blew her out with a 13,000 vote lead. And that didn't happen just because of, you know, people wanting change. It happened because people had a trust that I would do a better job, because they've seen the work I've been able to do in the past 2 years. And so, again, I can't stress enough making sure you are aware of who your community is.
So you speak about being the candidate. Now, what's the political process in your area? Because I know it's different from state to state. Did you get the party nomination? Did you run against the party? What happened?
So I did get endorsed by the party. So we have our county parties, and the local Democratic Party of Orange County did endorse me. They endorsed me early, which was really helpful. And so, you know, that does take into, it plays a lot into elections and campaigns, whether you have the support of your party. And again, it's going to vary from area to area, depending on what's going on within the community. I mean, I know there's a lot of communities that have a distrust of what they call the establishment. But then again, it also reflects on the individual candidate. If they trust you and then you get the party endorsement, that trust still stays. But, you know, again, you have to really know your community. You have to know what their needs are, where they stand when it comes to party endorsements. So for me, it was very important for me to have the party endorsement. And I was very happy to have it, the only Democrat that was running during this campaign cycle.
Well, congratulations again. So Mayor-elect, I asked you a whole bunch of questions. I normally give an opportunity to my guests to ask me a question. So do you have any questions for me?
Maybe I'd like to know your story a little bit. How did you get into politics?
That is a great question. I actually was an immigrant myself. I came to the United States when I was 16 years old. And I think similar to your story, I volunteered locally first, and I was a volunteer fireman, a volunteer in the local hospital. And it's one thing led to another. I was actually asked to run for office when I didn't have my citizenship, but it was a trigger point for me to expedite my citizenship application. And I submitted my application, my petition, exactly 1 year after I became a citizen. But it was in 2001. So my name, just like yours, the pundits expected that I wouldn't make it in 2001 November election. But again, because of community engagement, because of community involvement, I think we were able to create the narrative rather than have the media mandate the Muslim narrative on us. So I think there's a common thread right here between your story and mine and many of the stories that I interview. But the rest of the story is long. I hope one day we'll meet up and we'll connect and we'll talk about it. We would love to host you here in New Jersey. If you're ever here, please make sure that you contact me. I'd love to meet you.
Absolutely. And I hope that you'll make your way out to California and come to Irvine. We'd love to host you here as well.
Absolutely. I hope so. So Mayor-elect, thank you very much again. Ladies and gentlemen, were you inspired by Mayor-elect Khan's story? If so, please make sure that you write your comments and your questions in the space below, and either myself or the mayor will answer your questions. Again, if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please make sure that you do so. Make sure that you hit the like button and the reminder bell so you get notification of all our future episodes. Until we meet again, be safe, be blessed, and be active.